name is Ana. I come from Brazil, and I'm really happy to be here this morning in Finhorn, sharing my experience of this action research in the Amazon. In some sense, this work has to do with building bridges between communities in different parts of the world, and especially with this specific community with other eco-villages or intentional communities in different parts. And Finhorn has played an important role in this specific work. My English not really very fluent, so if you don't understand any word, please just make a sign that I can repeat. I would like to do this presentation more like a conversation, an invitation to a conversation, a dialogue, than a proper presentation from top down. So I will just share with you some points and images, some topics, and then I would like to hear from you too, okay? As I said, this is part of your PhD research. I'm finishing it right now. I just finished the thesis and I'll be presenting in 2 weeks.
Good luck.
Thank you. It has a theoretical level. I will just show it very briefly today and go straight into the action research. And then from the theoretical level, which is my motivation, I asked this question, what to do with this whole big context. And then I just got to transdisciplinarity and action research as research strategies to deal with these questions. And then I chose this case study, which is Mapear Village at the Purus National Forest in Brazil. I will be presenting this community to you. And there we built a learning community, learning and practice community on collaborative communication for sustainability. And the main result of this learning community was the offering of the EDE, the Eco-Village Design Education curriculum from GA Education in this specific community, with participation also of other representatives from different communities in the region. So I used the dragon training approach to organize the research. I don't know if you have heard about it. It comes from John Croft, an Australian geographer and educator. It is a holistic approach to project management. And this is an overview, an outline of the whole research. I'm not going to this right now, just to... So at the theoretical level, the motivation had to do with recognizing problematics or complex problems with which we are dealing in our contemporary societies. And they had to do with multiple crises that invite us to the transition for different lifestyles or ways of thinking and behaving. So my work begins in the recognition that this crisis have its deep roots in the thought or in the way we make sense or produce sense about our world. So we have recognized these multiple crises in our times as expressions of specific ways of dealing or making sense about differences in Western culture. And these ways has to do with binary logics, dualistic logics, which have its roots in ancient Greek and even before. So my work has, in this theoretical level, like a genealogy, do you say like this in English?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of these cultural roots in ancient Greek and Western thought. So, this is a study based on communication, on the communication studies field. We also were working with the idea that the prevailing communication processes today, mass media and so on, they are also expressions of these binary logics. So the question is how to build more plural communication processes in our societies. So what to do? I chose transdisciplinarity as a research strategy, and it has to do with, it refers to what is between, across and beyond disciplines, and it has 3 pillars, which are the recognition of the 3 of different levels of reality, the complexity, and logics. The logics of the included middle, which is the revision of the binary logics which are prevailing in Western culture. So transdisciplinarity invites us to an authentic dialogue between science, arts, philosophy, and religions or traditions. So this was one strategy, and the other one, very close to transdisciplinarity, was action research. The idea of going beyond the theory-practice duality and working with people and not about people, not producing knowledge about some specific group or community, but with the group and community, facilitating change that they really demand, they need. So the case study was the Serra Mapia village at Purus National Forest in Amazonas, Brazil. This is the community. It's in the middle of a huge forest area, preserved forest area. It is located in that little star, western Amazon, Brazil. Here we have a more close look. There, the Purus National Forest and the Mapia village. So the Purus National Forest is a protected area created by the Brazilian government in 1988 after the community members they did a request to protect the area where they were living. So 256,000 hectares. It's a huge land, and it's located in Pauini municipality. The Purus National Forest has 1,000 dwellers, and the main settlement is the Mapia village with 600 dwellers. This is the way to get there. We need to go by car or bus from Rio Branco, in Acre State, which is the main town, the main city in the region, the capital, and then by boat to the village. Some pictures. And the village is an intentional village. It was founded in 1983 by forest people, traditional people, local rural workers and urban tappers who were united around the traditional and spiritual experience of Santo Daime, which is a spiritual tradition based on the ritual use of ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is a brew made from a leaf and a vine. I'll talk more about this later, but this is their glue, the ayahuasca spiritual tradition. And they gathered to build what they called a new society, new world, new system, new people, to live a more harmonious life, connected to the forest, to the nature, where they could really put into practice their spiritual values. And their origins are in the traditional lifestyles of the Amazon region. And the Purus National Forest Management Plan say that the Mapia village has the vocation to be a pilot eco-village in the region, or a social environmental laboratory. So the community was founded by Sebastião Mota de Melo, which were the spiritual leader, with his family and his friends. At that time, about 70 people. and they were living originally in the rural area of Rio Branco. But then with the urban pressures, the town was really growing. They just decided to leave after some visionary revelations that Sebastian had, that he should go into the forest with his people because the community would grow up and be like a city, a new city in the middle of the forest. So he followed his intuitions, his inner voice, and they moved to a specific place in the Rio do Ouro, not yet in Maquiar village, and they lived there for 3 years. After this time, someone showed up saying he was the owner of the land, and they were put there by the Brazilian government. And 3 years later, the Brazilian government came to them and said, no, you can't stay here anymore. You're going to be in a different place. So they left all. They built houses and agriculture and so on to sell Maquiar where they are living right now. In 1990, Sebastian passed away, and the community experienced a big transition in their way of life. So the worldview, as I said, is mainly based in ayahuasca ritual use. And Santo Daime is a tradition founded by Raimundo Irineu Serra in the beginnings of the 20th century, after an initiation process of 9 days alone in the forest. He knew ayahuasca with indigenous people in the border between Brazil and Peru, and then he brought it to Brazil, and he mixed indigenous tradition with Christian tradition and Afro-Brazilian tradition. So Santo Daime is like a syncretic spiritual tradition in Brazil. It values the natural elements as sacred, like the sun, the moon, the stars, and so on. And the main teachers come from meditation and songs. The music has a really central role in this spiritual tradition. It's good to say that ayahuasca religions are legal in Brazil, and Santo Daime is not the only one. We have also União Vegetal and Barquinha. Only to say some few words about society, economy, and ecology in this specific community. They have inherited the tradition of the social organization from the Seringais, which were the traditional settlements of rubber tappers in Brazil. So they didn't have any designed process for decision-making or communication. It was really spontaneous. And after Padrinho passed away, all this changed. They had these implicit agreements centered around the Padrinho Sebastian role, and now they are experimenting like structural conflicts because of these changes. In 2004, they had this design community participatory processes started in 2004, and they are organizing themselves since then, trying to design the processes. In the first years, they used to share all they had, and there was no money in the community. They had a gift economy, and it has changed also since the 1990s. Also in this transition, their resilience, their ecological resilience, also experimented like a queda? Fall, thank you. And now they're not so much sustainable as they used to be, although they still want to go on this sustainability project. So our work was this collaborative communication studies through a learning community, and we did some research on these processes amongst many different initiatives like intentional communities, education for sustainability, and social methodologies for dialogue. And we went to the community and shared all these principles and processes in this learning community. And it was not something that came from my own will. It came from some demands from the community since 2004, when they presented a project to the university where I work. And I'm part of a group in this university who have a relationship with this community for many years. And so that's why they just looked for us to get some technical support for the sustainable community development at the Purus National Forest. So we work from this generative question: how can communication processes in the community support the mission and the achievements of the goals of sustainability in Céu de Mapear village? We had 6 meetings, 6 workshops. Before there we had some meetings to prepare the workshops. And the main results were the action plan for communitarian communication and the mobilization for the EDE, the Eco-Village Design Education curriculum in the community. This is the education there, the education the Amazon. We call it Ama Gaia, which means in Portuguese love Gaia as well, and Ama comes from Amazon, so it was a suggestion from Inga, good to say. And we had 4 weeks, 2 in February, March, social and economic weeks, and 2 in May, June, last May and June. Now, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, ecological and world day weeks. I'm just coming back from there. And we had about 100 participants in the 2 phases, like 90 and 10 just coming and going, from 14 to 79 years old, from illiterate people to 1 PhD holder. So it was a very diverse group and very challenging in this sense, and at the same time really
rewarding.
Yeah, thank you. I keep missing the words in English. So there were some communities involved in this group, like not only Vila Céu de Mapear, but also some communities in the region, other conservation communities, and indigenous communities as well. We had also representatives from the Brazil Environmental Agency and from other institutions, state institutions and NGOs that work in the region as well. And the main outcomes are the 8 case studies groups. They turned into working groups for the transition of these communities to eco-villages. And we're gonna have at least 3 follow-up workshops to support the implementation of the design that came up from these groups. Some pictures of the EDE. This is John Croft from Australia. May East. Sky from Australia, and José Pacheco from Portugal, some of the educators who went there to work with these people. Thank you.